Hello everybody and welcome back to another My Porch Prints tutorials. Today we are going to be decorating a couple of pages using some fall and specifically pumpkin themed scraps and ephemera pieces and journal pages and things like that. So on screen right now you should be seeing the kits that we are using in today's tutorial. Links for that will be down in the description box below. To begin, we're going to be taking one of the pages from our Pumpkin Harvest journal kit, and I've already cut it in half so that the side with the words is separated from the side with the pumpkin, and we're just going to be cutting those in half and in half again until we have these 4 strips of paper. Lining them up in the middle, we're going to be grabbing 2 more pieces of paper, decorative pages from that kit, and we're just going to take these and tear them in half. Doesn't matter if you cut it or tear it because we're going to be roughing up the edges anyway. Once you have that done, we're just going to tear little chunks out of one of the longer edges of each of the halves that we just made, like so. And we're going to do this to all 4 of the sheets of paper. And we're just going to be putting those at the top and the bottom so that you can see the words through the torn layers. Like this. Alright, so now that that's done, we're going to actually remove those because we need to layer something underneath them. And that's going to be this envelope. We're actually making 3 envelopes here. So just taking this brown envelope, I'm going to be gluing it down into the left corner of the page, only on the flap of the envelope. Lining it up with the edge of my paper. And then I also took one of these little manila envelopes, and we're going to be doing the exact same thing. Just attaching it to the bottom of the page, lining it with the edge. And pressing it down. And again, just using one of those manila envelopes and attaching it to the top. It doesn't really matter where you put them, just wherever you'd like. These are going to be sort of little fold-out moments that we have on our pages. Just like that. Pretty simple. And now we're going to open all of those up, and just taking those papers from earlier that we made, we're going to layer them on top to sort of hide where we glued the envelopes down. I'm taping mine on instead of gluing them, just in case I wanted to move them around. It's a little bit easier when you're using tape since it's a little more forgiving than the glue, but if you want to glue yours down to make sure they're very secure, go ahead. Gluing down these edges to make sure they don't pop up. And a little fun fact, my cat's name is actually Pumpkin, one of my cats. And I named her that because I got her in October. Alright, so we're going to grab this brown craft paper, and it comes in, I think it's a 5.5 by 7 inch. I'd have to double check that. A link will be down for it in the description box below. But we're going to be cutting off like the first inch, 2 inches off the top of it, and then folding it in half and rounding off the corners. I didn't really measure for this. I sort of just had this piece lying around from another project, so it's what I used. And after folding it in half, we're going to cut it right along the folded line. And when you're done, you should have 2 halves like this. And we're going to be putting that in the upper right-hand corner, and we're going to be flipping them around so that the rounded edges are facing one another. And then folding the straight edge into maybe 1/4 inch fold. Again, I didn't really measure, so it's not about being perfect. Alright, when you're done with that, we're going to be adding a few brads to each of the corners. Using a hole punch, a micro hole punch, I'm going to go ahead and make some holes in each corner and add the brads and try to bend them so that you can't see the backs of the brad. Just like this. Alright, and I'm going to find a couple of buttons that I have lying around, and we're going to be using these to secure them shut later on. So taking a little hot glue, I'm just going to add those buttons. And then folding them back, we're going to grab a few of the pieces from the Halloween bundle, just a couple of ephemera pieces. And I'm just going to be securing those down, making sure that they're small enough to still be hidden by the doors when they are closed. Creating a little bit of a pocket here, and filling it with this tag and a couple of other ephemera pieces. Some of these are from the Halloween bundle, and the others are from the Fall Fussy cuts, both of which are linked down below. Double checking that they are still hidden under the doors, and they are, so I'm going to go ahead and glue those doors down just along that folded edge, adding a little bit of clear gel tacky glue and pressing them down, holding it for a second. And there you go, you should have 2 little fold-out doors. And using a little bit of hemp, I'm just going to wrap it around those buttons to keep the doors closed. Alright, next we're going to start decorating, and we're going to get in by using one of these brown paper bags and cutting it right along this line where the bag folds over to create these 2 separate pieces. And we're going to take each of these 2 halves and place them in different areas. So I'm going to put the envelope up top and the little bag on the bottom. And since the bag doesn't stay closed, I'm just adding a small piece of tape here to keep the bottom of the bag closed so nothing falls out. And we're going to tape that right on top of our envelope. Just like that, and I'm going to fill it with a couple of those Halloween ephemera pieces. And I decided to decorate the bag a little bit, so I'm going to take another ephemera piece and some of this pretty orange polka dot ribbon I got from the craft store. And I'm just going to glue that on top using a little bit of hot glue. And just for fun, I decided to add a few more brads to each of the corners of the ephemera piece. Now that that's done, we're going to focus on the other piece, and I'm just going to go ahead and glue it straight down onto the envelope. And we'll come back to that later. And I had this scrap piece of notebook paper, and I decided to just go ahead and glue it down here to the bottom of the page. Just adding a little more texture. And it was right here that I realized I hadn't lit a candle, so I decided to go with this Yankee candle that smells like pumpkin. It smells just like fall, and I love it. Alright, we're just going to go ahead and jump over and focus on this envelope over here. And for that, we're going to take the scrap piece of paper that came from the Pumpkin Harvest Journal Kit that we used earlier. And we're also going to grab one of those sheets of brown craft paper. And starting with the craft paper, I'm just going to secure it to the envelope cover to sort of make another extra flip. And to do that, I just sort of lined it up at the top and folded a crease just like this. So that it would sort of flip up kind of notepad style. And then cut off the excess paper. Like so, and then taking some brads and a micro hole punch. We're going to be adding brads to the corner again. Securing those down. And then I hot glued mine on because it was close, but you could use any kind of glue. And be careful not to burn yourself on the brads. They will get hot if you use hot glue. And there you go. Another extra flip, and is on this cover that we are going to add our scrap sheet, cutting it to fit. And then just gluing it on. Alright, next we're going to grab some of this gold ribbon I found at the craft store, and we're just going to be adding this to the bottom of the page to create sort of like a little tuck spot. Just like that. And I'm going to be adding this layered pocket that comes with the Halloween kit, as well as some of this sort of orange gold ribbon that I also got from the craft store. They had a sale on ribbon, so I ended up just buying a whole bunch of it and using it in this project. Again, hot gluing that down to the top and bottom of the envelope. And then adding the pocket on top of that. And I'm just going to fill it with a bunch of different ephemera pieces. And later I actually end up swapping these out for tickets to use these elsewhere on the page, but it doesn't matter, whatever you want to use. And to put inside the envelope, I made these Halloween recipe cards, and I just added a bunch of pumpkin related recipes to them. And I put them in this envelope right here for now, but later I'll actually be moving them to the envelope on top and using this for something else. But anyway, yeah, that's what I did here. Alright, next we are going to go back to the lower right hand pocket, and I decided to use this to store a bunch of my extra ephemera pieces. Just tucking them right into the pocket, but if you flip it up they're all going to fall out, so we're going to make sort of like a little secure latch for it. And for that I just grabbed a small ephemera card and folded the top of it just a little bit so that it would sort of work like a hinge flap, and glued it down. And adding just a decorative scrap from earlier to cover up the back of it so it's not so plain. And grabbing this little ticket from the Halloween scrap pack, I'm just going to secure it on here with a teeny tiny little paper clip. Just to make it look a little more interesting. And to keep that from folding up, we're going to be adding a couple of other pieces. So I have this envelope from a much older kit. It's totally unrelated. I think it's from like our letters and postcard kit. And then a couple of Halloween scraps, including this little ticket. Just adding a brad and some orange ribbon tied in a bow. And I'm securing everything down with puff tape to make it a little more dimensional. And when adding the puff tape to this little piece on the end, you want to remember to put it near the edges and not the center, otherwise it won't work as a pocket. And now you have a little pocket to tuck your little tag into. And because it's puffed up with 3D puff tape, you can also tuck the original ephemera flap down underneath it, and it will hold everything shut. Just like that. So I decided to move my recipe cards up to that top envelope like I said earlier. And for this envelope, I'm actually going to add these altered envelopes that I made a video on previously, so if you haven't seen that, be sure to check that out. It was a really cute, fun project. I had a lot of fun doing it. Instead, we're going to put these recipe cards up here. And I'm going to decorate this really simply, just gluing down a couple of Halloween scrap pieces. And then taking a little bit of distress ink, I went ahead and inked the edges so they didn't look so pristine and clean anymore. Adding a little bit of character. And there you go, that is done. Alright, and for a little while here, I'm just going to be gluing down some ephemera pieces onto the page, just kind of willy-nilly wherever I want them to go. There wasn't really a plan for this, just sort of laying things out where I like them. So I'm going to go ahead and just be quiet for a little bit and let you sort of watch that process. Alright, and right here I'm going to just take some of this sunflower ribbon I got from the craft store, and making another pocket, I'm going to fill it with the spare recipe cards I have, just tucking it underneath this folded ticket I have clipped to the side. And then just making a little embellishment in the corner with some cheesecloth and a little ephemera piece. And then continuing on with decorating using lots and lots of little fussy cuts and ephemera pieces. And one of those ephemera pieces is this large pumpkin, this large white one down in the right hand side. And that actually comes from the 3D pumpkin journal insert. So if you want that, you'll have to get it from that kit. And then I just sort of cut it out and used it because I thought it was kind of pretty. Okay, pumpkin! Sorry, my cat has just jumped up in my lap and she is all over the counter. Okay, pumpkin. Whatever. Alright, so right here I'm adding a wax seal to that false envelope we have, and I'm going to be using sort of a like golden orange colored wax and a sunflower shaped seal to sort of stick with our fall September theme. And this is what that looks like when it's all finished. Just continuing on with the decorating. Alright, and with that we are done. And here's what the full finished pages look like once you have everything done and decorated. We've got lots of fun little fold outs and tuck spots and pockets. We have our altered envelopes and our recipe cards, tags, lots of fun fall related ephemera pieces. Yeah, this was just kind of a really fun and sort of relaxing project for me to do. I didn't really have anything planned out when I went into it. I just kind of made it as I went, and I'm honestly really happy with how it turned out. I think the colors are just really warm and inviting, and overall I'm pretty happy with how everything came together. Alright, so I hope that you enjoyed this tutorial and got some creative ideas and inspiration from it, and I'm hoping we will see you in our next video. Thanks so much for watching. Bye!